All right, welcome back. Today, we're telling a story. Picture this. A dusty town called Fiat Friction. It's run by a posse of sheriffs who've gotten rich off a system that's confusing, opaque, and built on debt. But then a new figure rides into town. They call him the ERC Kid. And he's not here for a shootout. He's here to rewrite the rules of the entire game. So here's the playbook for how he liberates this town. First, we're going to dig into the problem. What exactly is wrong in Fiat Friction? Then, we'll see how he draws a completely new legal line in the sand. We'll look at the different kind of currency he introduces, watch his countermove against the bankers, witness the final decisive settlement, and stick around to see the sovereign mindset he leaves behind. Okay, so let's set the scene. Fiat Friction is a town that's completely stuck. The sheriffs in charge profit from a system that's designed to be a mess. They commingle public money for their own private gain, and they use these murky rules that nobody really understands until it's way too late. And this quote? It just nails the feeling of living in Fiat Friction. The whole system is like a minefield of hidden tripwires. Some obscure rule can suddenly trigger what's called a mechanical liquidation, forcing you to sell your best assets not because you made a bad choice, but because the system's plumbing is broken. That's the constant, invisible threat hanging over everyone's head. You know, at the very heart of this story is a clash of two big ideas. On one side, you've got the sheriff's fiat currency, basically a promise from the government that can be printed into oblivion, constantly losing its value. And on the other side, you have the principle of sound money, value that is actually anchored to something real, something tangible, like gold and silver. And to get a sense of the scale of this fiat problem, just look at the U.S. national debt. It's ballooned to around $38 trillion. This number isn't just a number. It represents the massive weight of the debt-based system that the sheriffs are sworn to protect, and it's the very system the ERC Kid is offering an escape from. So what's the kid's first move? He doesn't reach for a six-shooter. He rolls out the digital spine of a brand new sovereign treasury. He's using the power of commercial law to build a system with rules that are transparent, that are verifiable, and most importantly, that are backed by code. He kicks things off with a simple lesson on ownership. He explains to the townspeople, look, the sheriffs tricked you. They've got their hands on your physical gold and silver, sure, but in the process, they've clouded who holds the legal title, and they've stolen the economic benefit, the interest. The kid's whole plan is about getting that complete bundle of rights back for the people. And this is just brilliant. He uses something called the Uniform Commercial Code. The kid and his posse of notaries start filing these things called UCC-1 financing statements. What this does is it basically creates a legal fortress around the town's wealth. It perfects their claim, giving them a superior legal right to the assets, even if the sheriffs are the ones physically holding the gold bars. Now, when the sheriffs demand their paper cash, the kid unveils his next tool, controllable electronic records, or CERs. These are a special kind of digital asset where legal control is just as good as having the thing in your hand. Suddenly, the town can trade value using these new digital instruments that the sheriff's old, dusty law books have no power over. And get this, for every single action taken in this new system, a tokenized trust receipt is created. Now, this isn't money. It's not a security. Think of it as a permanent, unforgeable digital receipt that's bound to you and you alone. It's the ultimate proof that something happened, creating a perfect audit trail that the sheriffs just can't argue with. Okay, so the legal foundation is set. Now the ERC Kid is ready to show the townspeople how to escape the sheriff's most powerful weapon, the tax trap. And believe it or not, it all comes down to changing what they think of as currency. Now this is where it gets really clever. There's a legal loophole that's been hiding in plain sight. Under federal law, a specific coin, the American Silver Eagle, isn't just a hunk of metal. It's actual legal tender currency. Why does that matter? Well, selling a commodity, like a generic silver bar, automatically triggers tax reporting. But a transaction using legal tender, it doesn't. Just like that, the kid shows them how to sidestep the sheriff's entire tax and control scheme. The sheriffs and their buddies at the central bank have always bragged that they're the only ones who can create credit. Well, the ERC Kid is about to take their own rulebook, the Federal Reserve Act no less, and use it to launch a devastating counterstrike. So the kid walks up to the townspeople and asks them a question that just sounds impossible. How can you possibly borrow millions of dollars without putting up a single thing as collateral? This question just hangs in the air, setting the stage for his most futuristic financial weapon yet. He introduces them to something called the atomic flash loan. This is pure digital magic. It's a loan that is borrowed and repaid in the time it takes for a single transaction to confirm on a blockchain. We're talking seconds. And the atomic part is the genius of it. If for any reason the loan can't be paid back in that instant, the whole thing just rewinds itself as if it never even happened. Zero risk to the lender. And look how beautifully this works. In one single, seamless move, you can borrow a huge sum of the sheriff's own dying currency, use it to make a profitable trade, pay back the loan plus a tiny fee, and you get to keep the profit. It all happens in a flash, using capital you never even had to own to begin with. You're beating them at their own game with their own money. All right, let's move to the climax. This is the final showdown. Every tool the ERC Kid has brought to the table, the legal filings, the sound money principles, the flash loans, it's all about to come together in one single decisive move that will free the town for good. The Kid hands out these things called executive stipend cards to everyone in town. So when the sheriffs roll up demanding their taxes in cold, hard fiat cash, the people just swipe their cards. That one simple swipe triggers the whole atomic flash loan strategy. It borrows the fiat, pays the tax, and then instantly repays the loan using the value of their own tokenized gold. It's a clean, instant settlement, but on their terms, not the sheriff's. But what about all the old, bogus charges the sheriffs had on their books? The Kid's posse activates the allowance gate. You can think of it as a human-governed legitimacy switch. They review every single one of the sheriff's claims and reject them, proving they were fraudulent all along, because the currency used for those charges was never properly backed by real assets in the first place. And here's where the Kid disarms the sheriff's biggest weapon, fear. They were using laws like HR 5404 to scare everyone, talking about a great reset and tricking them into paying crazy high conversion fees. But the Kid pulls back the curtain on the truth. He says, yes, a gold-backed system is coming, but you can't buy your way in with worthless paper. The only bridge to that new system is holding real Tier 1 assets, gold and silver. So, with the sheriffs defeated and the town finally free, the ERC Kid gets ready to ride off into the sunset. But what he leaves behind is so much more than just a new set of tools. He leaves behind a whole new way of thinking about value, about ownership, about sovereignty itself. And this is the change. The townspeople finally see it. In the old system, they were stuck on a treadmill, always chasing the price of things and the sheriff's constantly depreciating dollars. The new system is much simpler. The goal isn't to chase a fluctuating price. It's to accumulate real value. It's to stack ounces of real, tangible assets. The focus shifts from fiat to value. And that brings us to the final, big question that this whole story leaves us with. In the world the ERC Kid built, agreements aren't enforced by sheriffs or courts anymore. They're enforced by unbreakable code. So if a contract can enforce itself, if trust is no longer a human promise but a mathematical certainty, what does that mean for the future of trust itself? How does that change everything about our economy, our laws, and maybe even how we interact with each other?